Sega Design continually come out with very interesting watches, and today I have a very interesting offer from the brand that is inspired by racing. This is a fully skeletonized watch that gets a really beautiful movement. And you guys know I'm not a big fan of skeletonized watches. This watch does not look cheap. Usually with Sega Designs, they do a good job at making their watches look a lot more expensive than they actually are. And like I said, this one does. I have it hands-on, so let's take a look at a new Sega Design that gets a full skeleton treatment. Sega Design are one of those brands that are not afraid of taking risks and coming out with designs that are a little bit different from the mainstream. This is a watch that is inspired by race cars and racing in general. And you can see that on the dial. You get gears on the dial. There's a large gear that goes all the way around this skeletonized movement. Now, this movement I think is based on an ETA, so it's like an ETA clone, I believe, but they have really worked this so it is almost unrecognizable. There's micro bead blasting, there are beveled edges. Everything here looks really nice for the price point. And when you flip it over, you have a really awesome custom rotor on there, and again you get all of that same treatment on the back. The handset here is very legible. I think there was a video that I did recently for one of their watches that wasn't so legible. This one is actually the opposite. It is very legible because you have that darkened movement, and then you have these green hands. They are lined with green lume, and the tip of the second hand has a little bit of that green paint on it as well, and it is curved. So there are a lot of little details to check out on this dial. Also, it doesn't have a power reserve, but you can see the main barrel there. You can see the mainspring, and it is skeletonized. So when you wind the watch, you can actually see it tightening up, and you could wind this watch up. It gets 25 joules. It beats at 28,800. So very similar to a Sleet SW200 or, the equivalent. And there you go. It performs exactly the same way. And when you wind it, you could see that tightening up, and you can see how much power reserve you have left. This is a pebble case, but it's not like their Blue Earth watches. This actually gets lugs. So when you turn it on its side, you have these very, very small lugs. You have a very similar crown to that watch. And overall, the aesthetic here is somewhat similar to the Blue Earth. However, it's slightly different at the same time. You have these lugs that are here that protrude a little bit. They're polished and brushed. There's media blasting, micro bead blasting throughout the case. And this one is in titanium. They make it in stainless steel, titanium, and carbon fiber. So this one sort of sits in the middle. The carbon fiber is the most expensive, and the stainless steel is the least expensive. So this one's right in the middle. The display case back is really big. It looks really good. I have to say, like overall, the aesthetic here is very pleasing. You have a very large sapphire crystal with a beveled edge on the back. Screwed in case back, quick release on this strap. And I've always said this, a beautiful double deployant clasp on here with two push buttons. Everything here is really nicely made. And then you have this strap on here that's meant to look like Kevlar, but it's a rubber strap. That's the strap that it comes with. And I think it matches the overall aesthetic really well. Measurements on this watch, well, it's a 44 millimeter watch. However, when you measure the lug to lug is actually a little bit shorter than 44 millimeters because you can see the case actually protrudes as far as those lugs or a little bit past them. So it's around 43.9 millimeters at the lugs, but it wears like a 44 millimeter round watch. So almost similar to that Blue Earth or any other 44 millimeter puck-shaped watch. And the thickness here is around 12.7 millimeters thick. That's including the obviously very domed sapphire crystal. So you could see that when I turn it on its side. Again, it's sort of like a puck shape. You have a bezel on here that is a 60-minute countdown bezel. However, obviously you can't move that bezel. And it also says Sega Design right there. So it's not signed on the movement or the dial because there is really no dial here. It's signed right here where it says Sega Design. That's probably the only element about this watch that I don't like. I wish they didn't sign the front at all. I think that would have been really cool. Overall, I think it still looks cool, and you don't notice that right away, but that's just something I want to mention. Really quickly, let me show you what I have on my wrist, and then we will do a lume shot. Of course, I'll show you this on my wrist as well. On my wrist today, I have a very special watch. This is a Zeitwinkel, and it's the first time I've ever worn a Zeitwinkel, and it's the first one that I will ever feature here on my channel. I am very excited about this watch. German made, really complicated looking, sapphire dial that's fume and tinted, just a really gorgeous watch. And there is the Sega Design Vector on my 7.5 inch wrist. Like I said, this is a 44 millimeter watch, but again, when it's a puck-shaped watch like this, a pebble-shaped watch, it doesn't wear like 44 millimeters. It actually looks like a 43 millimeter watch on my wrist, but even if it looks like a 44 millimeter watch, it doesn't feel like one, is what I should say. And it's not all that thick. It wears pretty close to the wrist. I think it looks really good on my 7.5 inch wrist. Let's do a lume shot. I think the lume is decent on the hands. It's not incredible, but let's check it out. Well, there you go, lume, pretty good on here. You have skeletonized hands, but the perimeter of those hands are covered in lume. So the lume is pretty decent on there, and you do get a little bit of lume on that second hand so that you can see your watch is working in the dark. I think that is fantastic. Price on this is $899. You are getting a very bespoke looking watch for $899 in titanium. I'm not sure if it's grade 5 or grade 2 titanium. If I know that information, I will put it down in the description below, but I believe it is grade 5 titanium because there is polishing on this watch, on the lugs and on the bezel, so I think it is. However, I do not know. It's a little bit more expensive. I think $999 if you want the carbon fiber, or $1,099, something like that, and then it's cheaper, $699 or $799. I think it's $699 in stainless steel. So if you want this in stainless steel, it looks almost exactly the same. Obviously, it will be a little bit heavier. Some people like that. I like the titanium because I like the feel of titanium, and I like the weight. I like a light watch. I think this looks really cool, and especially since this is racing themed, titanium or carbon fiber is really the right material. Tell me what you guys think down in the comments below. I want to hear from you guys. Like I said, my only complaint about this is that Sega Design on the front of the watch, which I think is a little bit large. If they put just their logo somewhere, or just a little Sega Design somewhere on the dial hidden, that would have made more sense. A large logo like that on the bezel, it's a little bit in your face, but it kind of blends in with the bezel also. So initially I didn't see it, and then when you see it, you can't unsee it. But if it doesn't bother you, I think it looks really good in general, and overall, I think a very fun watch. Tell me what you guys think down in the comments below. I will add a link to this watch down in the description. Definitely check it out if you are interested. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon. It is super helpful for the channel, and I very, very much appreciate it. It really helps me bring you videos like this 4 times a week, which I've been doing for about 6 years now. So I really very much appreciate it, and please consider subscribing and hitting that bell icon. Anyway, guys, thank you for logging on. Thank you for watching this video. I'll catch you guys in the next video.